201 million years ago, Earth was reborn. The world had just survived one of the most devastating mass extinctions in history. Half of all life was gone. Yet from the ashes of that ancient world, a new chapter unfolded. Towering forests spread across the land. Strange giants emerged from the seas, and on land, creatures that would define an era rose to power. This was the age when life grew colossal, when the rulers of the earth truly earned their crown. This was the Jurassic. The Jurassic Period began in the aftermath of devastation. At the end of the Triassic, Earth was shaken by one of the greatest extinction events in history. Vast volcanic eruptions split open the crust of the supercontinent Pangaea, pouring out oceans of lava and releasing immense volumes of carbon dioxide. The atmosphere warmed, the oceans turned acidic, and nearly 4 out of every 5 species disappeared. Yet out of destruction came renewal. With rivals swept away, the survivors faced a world of opportunity. Among them were small, 2-legged dinosaurs, fast, resilient, and ready to expand into empty landscapes. In the silence left behind by extinction, their story truly began. The land itself was changing. Pangaea, though still united as one vast landmass, had begun to crack and drift. Valleys deepened into rifts, and shallow seas seeped inland. The once dry interior grew wetter as rainfall spread, and rivers carved new channels across the land. Forests flourished in this greenhouse world. Towering conifers and ginkgos rose above the canopy. Cycads and ferns spread thick across the ground. Where deserts once stretched, lush greenery now covered the earth. Life filled these habitats with astonishing speed. Insects multiplied in the undergrowth. Amphibians thrived in freshwater swamps. Crocodile-like reptiles lingered along the rivers. Tiny mammals, no larger than mice, scurried in the shadows, clinging to survival. But it was the dinosaurs that would define this new age. In this transformed world, they began their climb, from small survivors to rulers of Earth. With stability came growth. The Jurassic world, rich in vegetation and warm with greenhouse climates, became a land of abundance. And in this abundance, the dinosaurs grew, larger than life. The sauropods rose first. These colossal plant-eaters became the largest animals ever to walk the earth. Creatures like Brachiosaurus, with its towering neck stretching more than 9 meters above the ground, could strip entire treetops in a single reach. Diplodocus, longer than a blue whale, swept its whip-like tail behind as it grazed low vegetation. Others, like Apatosaurus and Camarasaurus, moved in herds across the floodplains, their footsteps shaking the earth beneath them. The secret to their size lay in the environment. The lush Jurassic forests provided a constant supply of food, while warm, oxygen-rich air and efficient respiratory systems allowed them to grow ever larger. Their long necks gave them access to food that smaller animals could not reach, and by moving in herds, they could strip forests bare before migrating to new feeding grounds. But no age of giants is without its hunters. As sauropods flourished, so too did the predators that pursued them. Early theropods, like Dilophosaurus, gave way to larger and more formidable carnivores. The apex hunter of much of the Jurassic was Allosaurus. At over 8 meters long, with powerful jaws and curved, serrated teeth, it was built for tearing flesh. Hunting alone or in coordinated packs, it could bring down prey many times its own size. Yet the world of the Jurassic was not ruled by size alone. Smaller, agile carnivores like Ceratosaurus thrived alongside giants, stalking rivers and forests with speed and precision. Even the shadows were alive with danger. The balance of power between predator and prey shaped the very landscape. Sauropods gathered in herds for protection. Predators evolved sharper senses, stronger jaws, and faster legs. Each adaptation forced the other to respond, driving evolution forward in an endless cycle. This was the hallmark of the Jurassic: scale, abundance, and arms races of survival. In this age, the dinosaurs had not only endured, they had ascended. While giants ruled the land, the seas of the Jurassic had their own masters. Beneath the rolling waves, life was just as fierce, just as colossal, and just as extraordinary. The oceans were warm and shallow, spreading wide across the fractured continents. Coral reefs flourished, Seas teemed with fish and ammonites, ancient relatives of squids and octopuses, spiraled through the water in dazzling variety. These shell-covered creatures became the anchors of marine food webs, feeding countless predators. Among those predators were the ichthyosaurs. Sleek, powerful, and shaped like enormous dolphins, they were built for speed. Some reached lengths of over 20 meters, with enormous eyes that let them hunt even in the dim light of the deep. With narrow jaws lined in sharp teeth, they feasted on fish, squid, and anything small enough to swallow whole. Sharing the seas with them were the plesiosaurs. Their long-necked forms, like Allosaurus and Cryptoclydus, glided through coastal waters, snaring fish with needle-like teeth. Their necks, stretching many times the length of their bodies, allowed them to dart quickly into schools of prey, while keeping their bulky bodies at a distance. But even these graceful hunters had their rivals. The pliosaurs, shorter-necked cousins of the plesiosaurs, were the true monsters of the Jurassic oceans. Liapleurodon, with a skull nearly 3 meters long and jaws strong enough to crush bone, patrolled the seas as one of the most fearsome predators of its time. Some estimates suggest it could reach lengths of 15 meters, an apex hunter, unrivaled in power. Above the waves, life took to the skies. The pterosaurs, already present in the Triassic, now spread across the coasts and islands. Some were no larger than a crow, while others grew vast wingspans that darkened the shorelines as they swooped down to catch fish. They were the first vertebrates to master powered flight, claiming the skies long before birds. Yet in the closing chapters of the Jurassic, a new shape appeared in the air: feathered wings. Archaeopteryx, a small feathered dinosaur from what is now Germany, became the first true bird. Its wings carried it across lagoons and forests, blurring the line between dinosaur and bird. In the skies above the seas, evolution was writing the first words of a story that continues to this day. The Jurassic oceans were not gentle waters. They were arenas of survival, ruled by predators as strange and as terrifying as any that walked the land. Here too, life pushed itself to new extremes, to grow larger, faster, and deadlier. In the sea, as on land, this was an age of monsters. The Jurassic world was not defined by dinosaurs alone. Its landscapes were shaped by vast forests, unlike anything we know today. Conifers dominated the canopy. Towering species, some rising more than 30 meters into the air, formed endless green skylines. These ancient relatives of modern pines and redwoods provided both food and shelter for the giants of the age. Ginkgos spread their fan-shaped leaves across the forests, while cycads, resembling stout palms, flourished beneath the shade. Ferns and horsetails blanketed the forest floor, creating dense undergrowth where smaller creatures found refuge. This vegetation thrived in the greenhouse climate of the Jurassic. Warm, humid air and high levels of carbon dioxide allowed plants to grow rapidly, replenishing themselves even as immense herds of sauropods consumed them in astonishing quantities. These forests were living engines, cycling energy through entire ecosystems. Among the greenery, insects thrived in staggering numbers. Dragonflies with wingspans as wide as a man's hand skimmed over ponds. Beetles, wasps, and early butterflies fed on plants and pollinated them in return. Termites broke down dead wood, recycling nutrients back into the soil. These tiny engineers quietly sustained the balance of the forests. Hidden in this world of giants were the first mammals. They were small, nocturnal, and unassuming, no larger than a mouse or a rat. Some, like Morganucodon, darted between roots and underbrush, feeding on insects under the cover of darkness. Others, such as Docodon, displayed early signs of diverse diets and behaviors. They lived in the shadows of dinosaurs, rarely seen, but holding within them the promise of a future yet to come. Amphibians thrived in lakes and rivers, their croaks filling the nights of the Jurassic. Early frogs and salamanders lurked in swamps, feeding on insects at the water's edge. Crocodile-like reptiles basked on muddy shores, ambushing prey that strayed too close. These forests were ecosystems of staggering complexity. Every layer, from the canopy to the forest floor, was alive with activity. The dinosaurs may have dominated the open plains, but it was these woodlands, rich and teeming with life, that sustained the balance of the Jurassic world. Here, life was not measured only in size or strength, but in survival. From the smallest insect to the mightiest sauropod, every creature played its part in the grand orchestra of the Jurassic forests. The Jurassic period was not only a time of giants, it was an era of transformation. Evolution surged forward, producing new forms, new defenses, and entirely new ways of life. On the open plains of North America, Stegosaurus emerged. Its back was lined with great bony plates, rising like sails from neck to tail. While their exact purpose remains debated, they may have helped regulate body temperature or intimidate rivals. Along its tail, sharp spikes, the thagomizer, provided a formidable weapon against predators. Stegosaurus was not alone. Relatives across the world, armored and plated, stood as proof that defense could shape survival as much as size. Predators evolved in turn. Allosaurus, the apex hunter of the late Jurassic, embodied the arms race of the era. With powerful legs, a massive skull, and teeth serrated like steak knives, it was built for ambush and attack. Fossil evidence suggests it may have hunted in groups, targeting even the largest sauropods with precision strikes. Other carnivores, such as Torvosaurus and Ceratosaurus, filled different niches, one powerful and heavily built, the other agile and opportunistic. Together they kept the Jurassic world in balance, each predator carving out its place. Smaller theropods experimented with new adaptations. Feathers, once simple filaments for warmth and display, began to evolve into more complex structures. By the late Jurassic, some dinosaurs possessed wings. Archaeopteryx, discovered in the limestone of Germany, bore feathers almost identical to those of modern birds. It could glide, perhaps even manage short bursts of powered flight. In its fragile form, the blueprint of the future was written. Dinosaurs were not just rulers of the land, but pioneers of the skies. Other evolutionary leaps unfolded quietly. Early mammals diversified, developing sharper teeth and more complex jaws, preparing them for new diets. Tiny insect-eating species scurried through the undergrowth, some even climbing trees or gliding between branches. Though small and overshadowed, they were laying foundations for their own future dominance. The Jurassic was a showcase of innovation. Armor, weapons, flight, and new ways of living appeared in rapid succession. It was not a static age of giants, but a restless, creative chapter in evolution's story. Each adaptation, each leap forward, was a step that would shape the next 100 million years of life on Earth. For more than 50 million years, the Jurassic remained an age of relative stability. Unlike the violent upheavals that bookended it, this period was marked by balance. Life did not merely survive, it flourished. Continents continued to drift apart as Pangaea fractured into northern and southern halves, Laurasia and Gondwana. New seas widened between them, giving rise to vast coastlines and shallow waters teeming with life. These shifting plates brought volcanic activity, yet the eruptions did not destroy ecosystems as before. Instead, they enriched soils and sustained the forests that fed the great herds. The climate was largely warm and humid, with few extremes. Seasons were gentle, rainfall steady. Plants grew rapidly, carpeting the earth in greenery. Sauropods moved in great migrations across plains and valleys, feeding on this endless abundance. Their presence shaped the environment, stripping forests bare in one region, fertilizing the land with their waste, and then moving on, allowing vegetation to regenerate in their wake. Predators too maintained balance. Apex hunters like Allosaurus kept herds in check, targeting the weak and the young. Smaller carnivores pursued prey in rivers, forests, and lagoons. Each species occupied its own niche, preventing any one group from overwhelming the others. Beneath the surface, the oceans mirrored this equilibrium. Marine reptiles patrolled the seas, ammonites spiraled through coral reefs, and fish populations thrived in astonishing numbers. Though the seas were ruled by fearsome hunters, they were also stable, renewing themselves generation after generation. Even in the shadows of giants, smaller creatures endured. Mammals remained minor players, but their persistence through the Jurassic proved their resilience. Insects, amphibians, and reptiles filled every corner of the ecosystems, maintaining the intricate web of life. This long span of stability allowed evolution to run its course without interruption. Diversity flourished. Ecosystems grew more complex. For tens of millions of years, the Earth enjoyed a rare balance, one where the rhythm of life was steady, uninterrupted, and endlessly creative. The Jurassic was a golden age, not because it lacked danger, but because danger itself was part of the harmony. Every predator, every plant, every giant, and every insect played a role in a balanced world that endured longer than almost any other in Earth's history. The golden age of the Jurassic could not last forever. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the balance began to shift. Continents that had once been united drifted farther apart. The Atlantic Ocean widened, splitting Laurasia in the north from Gondwana in the south. With new coastlines came changing winds and currents. Rainfall patterns shifted, and climates grew more unpredictable. Regions that had once been lush and wet began to dry. Forests retreated, and open plains spread across the land. Volcanic activity increased as the great plates of Earth ground against each other. Ash and gases darkened skies, altering temperatures and stressing ecosystems. In some regions, marine life declined as oxygen levels in the oceans fell. The seas, once overflowing with abundance, became less stable. On land, the mightiest of the sauropods began to dwindle. Some of the colossal lineages that had defined the Middle Jurassic vanished, replaced by smaller but more specialized species. New types of herbivores rose to prominence, including early relatives of the great horned and duck-billed dinosaurs that would dominate the next age. Predators, too, adapted. Allosaurus continued to reign, but new challenges emerged, testing the balance of power. In the skies, the experiment of flight advanced further. Pterosaurs grew larger and more diverse, while early birds expanded their range, taking advantage of habitats that shifting climates created. The future was already visible in their wings. Though no single cataclysm ended the Jurassic, pressures accumulated. Climate fluctuations, volcanic upheavals, and gradual ecological change reshaped the world. By 145 million years ago, the chapter had closed. The Cretaceous period had begun. It would be an age of new giants, of flowering plants, of predators more fearsome than any that came before. The rise of the Jurassic had transformed life forever, but the story of dinosaurs was still far from its end. The Jurassic period was a golden age of life. From colossal sauropods to the first birds that spread their wings, it was a time when evolution reached astonishing heights. For more than 50 million years, Earth thrived in balance, a world rich with forests, oceans alive with monsters, skies filled with flight. But no chapter lasts forever. The Jurassic teaches us that life is always in motion. Continents drift, climates shift, species rise and fall. The rulers of one age are replaced by the pioneers of the next. Yet its legacy surrounds us still. The birds overhead, the forests that sustain us, even the balance of ecosystems, all carry echoes of the Jurassic world. Its story is written in the stones beneath our feet and in the living creatures of today. At Lifonix, nature reimagined through AI, we bring these ancient worlds back to life. Through science and imagination, we rediscover not just how life once was, but what it teaches us about resilience, adaptation, and our place in the greater story of Earth. The Jurassic was not the beginning nor the end. It was a reminder that life endures, evolves, and always rises again. And as we look back at this age of giants, we also look forward to what life may become and to the future chapters still waiting to be written.